Welcome, little lamb, to the shadows I call home. I am the Howlerist, and tonight I bring you a tale that will make you question what and who is real. Before we begin, if you crave stories that claw at your sanity and leave you sleepless, join the pack. Subscribe. Let the darkness find you. Now, settle in. Close your eyes if you dare. Here is a nightmare I have meticulously crafted, just for you. Pour Fatale, Chapter 1, The Call. Detective Shae Walker sat with her feet on the desk, listlessly flipping through cold cases in the empty bullpen. The Thursday night shift was always slow. Suddenly, her desk phone rings deafeningly loud. The handset volume turned to max as a prank. Walker crashes backwards, files flying everywhere. "Damn it, Mikey," she mutters angrily at her nearby giggling coworker. Detective Luke Casey doesn't blink, just scratches his stubble, focused on finishing his Sudoku puzzle. He was only a few years from a comfortable retirement with a pension. Composing herself amid snickers from the corner, Walker took a steadying breath and answered. "Detective Walker speaking." She grabbed a pen, sitting upright with alarm as the man on the other end described his wife Mila missing for nearly 48 hours. "Have you contacted family and friends? Local hospitals?" Walker's eyes widen. "What is your address, sir?" "Yes, we are on our way." Hanging up, she turned to Casey, who seemed nonplussed by the disturbing call. "Just another melodramatic husband, I bet," he muttered, as he threw down his puzzle book in disgust. Walker grabbed her statement book and threw on her coat as Casey grabbed his mobile to search the address. "Ah, crap. It's clear across town," he said slowly, standing up. "Oh well. We go right by Jimmy's. We can grab a burger on the way over," he said to an annoyed Walker. As they pulled up to the small suburban home, bathed in the glow of police lights, Walker swiftly exited the cruiser, leaving Casey scrambling to finish the last bites of his cheeseburger. She had always been eager to prove herself since joining Homicide 2 years prior as the youngest female detective in their county. Walker rapped firmly on the front door, startling a disheveled man who opened it apprehensively. "Tobias Martin?" she asked, stepping inside. Casey shuffled behind her slowly, dabbing grease from his mustache. He ambled past the photos lining the walls depicting Martin beaming happily with a pretty brunette. "So, let's start from the beginning," Casey started. But Walker had already launched swiftly into questioning, notepad out to capture every detail. Casey sighed, resigned to letting his energetic young partner take the lead. "She's the most thoughtful, caring wife," Tobias fawned, blowing his nose loudly. "Mila was coming home to prepare a surprise candlelit dinner for me. She'd gone to her usual hair salon appointment across town that morning. But she never came home." He broke down, sobbing. Walker's pen raced across her notepad. "And she gave you no other indication where she planned to go after, correct? No other errands or stops?" Tobias shook his head, clinging to a framed photo of himself embracing a radiant brunette woman. Casey piped up slowly. "Perhaps she was running behind and had an accident." "No," Tobias insisted. "Mila would never stand me up. Even when she's busy, she sends sweet texts and emojis throughout the day. But yesterday, nothing." He trailed off, looking desperately to the detectives for answers. "All right, Mr. Martin, let's get your wife's full details down," Walker said, flipping to a fresh page. What is her full name and date of birth? Sniffling, Tobias clung tighter to the framed photo he had been holding. Her name is Mila Faye Martin, though her maiden name was Fields. She was born May 6th, 1993. Detective Casey leaned in, studying the petite woman proudly posing in a floral sundress, her hazel eyes sparkling. Any distinguishing physical marks or features worth noting? Wiping his eyes, Tobias nodded. Yes, she has a small, star-shaped birthmark on her inner left wrist, and a little ballerina charm anklet with the engraved nickname Minx that I gifted her this past Valentine's Day. His voice wavered with heartache. That is extremely helpful, Mr. Martin. Walker and Casey exchanged startled looks as Tobias dissolved into sobs, the photo of Mila shaking in his clenched fist. We will do our best, sir. Would you have a recent photo that we can use? Shae said gently. Martin took a last, desperate gaze at the framed photo in his hand before reluctantly handing it to the young detective. After questioning Tobias extensively, Walker handed him her card. Feel free to give us a call anytime if you think of anything that may help, she offered as they left the residence. Back at the cruiser, Casey held up the framed photo of Mila. Strange, he muttered slowly. What now, Casey? Walker said, already preoccupied compiling her notes. This photo and the others back inside. Seems Mrs. Martin's hairstyle is always changing. Walker leaned over to take another look at the photo. So, let me guess. When you were married, you didn't notice your wife had been to the hairdresser's? Shae scoffed. Yeah, no. Probably not as often as I should have. Makes you wonder, though. Casey pondered. Wonder what? Shae said impatiently, waiting for him to get to the point. If our Mila Martin didn't have another reason for having her hair done so often. That's all. Chapter 2. Neighbours. Shae gave him one last look of distaste before heading out of the cruiser to begin canvassing the neighbors. Walker knocked on doors to no avail, most paying little attention to the Martins' comings and goings, until an elderly man who lived directly across the street had a strange recollection. Now that you mention it, the husband does move the two cars back and forth a lot, he remarked. Like musical chairs. Makes no sense. Deeming the area fruitless, Casey began to mumble under his breath. Something about needing a coffee when they arrived at the last small cottage. The door swung open, revealing an ancient woman leaning on a walker who greeted them in confusion. After peering at them through her thick glasses, then looking over their dark rims, she finally spoke. So, who are you two supposed to be? I'm Detective Walker. This is Detective Casey, Walker said politely, showing their badges. We wanted to speak with you about your neighbor, Mila Martin. Mr. Martin has reported her as missing. Mila? Oh heavens, not our sweet Mila. Mavis clasped the pearl necklace around her throat, inviting them inside to her cluttered living room as she shuffled towards an armchair. Lowering herself onto a chair with a groan, Mavis peered intently again at the two detectives as Shae opened her notebook. Terrible thing. Someone taking our dear Mila. She's like family to me. There's a new baby coming, you know. Oh dear, that poor woman. Ah, would you like a beverage of some kind? Mavis asked. A cough, Casey began, but after Shae flashed him a look, he quickly backed up. No thank you, madam, he muttered. We won't take up too much of your time, Ms. Abbott, Shae said gently. When did you last see Mrs. Martin? Oh, let me think. Mavis tapped her chin. gazing searchingly at the ceiling before snapping her fingers. Why just the other day? Tuesday, I believe. Dear Mila was off somewhere in her car. She was in quite a state. Her feet were so swollen, the poor thing. It's that awful summer heat. Not good for a woman so far along. She let me feel the baby kicking. Such a sweet girl. Did Mila happen to mention where she was off to that day, Ms. Abbott? Casey questioned, figuring he should at least get one query in edgewise. Yes, now that you say it. Mavis nodded slowly, readjusting the shawl around her hunched shoulders. I do believe Mila said she was off to have her pretty hair done. Casey and Walker meet eyes, just long enough for him to convey an unspoken but crystal clear "I told you so" about his stylist affair theory, potentially holding weight after all. Shuffling papers to avoid Casey's glare, Walker continued, gently prodding Mavis. So you've had other interactions with the Martins? Oh, such a sweet couple. Mavis clasped her hands adoringly. Why, yes. Tobias himself would come pick from my vegetable garden to take back fresh produce for his dear wife to make into delicious meals for him. Such a caring husband. And they just adored that cafe on the corner. Rainy Days, I believe it's called. He'd fetch Mila one of those creamy blended coffees every single morning. So in love, those two. I do hope Mila and the baby are all right. Mavis dabbed at suddenly misty eyes with her lace handkerchief. Well, we are definitely doing our best to solve this case as quickly as possible, Ms. Abbott. In the meantime, if you think of anything further that may be of help to us, please give us a call. Walker handed the old dear a card as she and Casey stood to leave. Oh, thank you for coming to visit. I do love it when company comes. I wonder if poor Mr. Martin is all right. Probably not eating proper meals with Mila gone. I should bake him a nice pie for his lunch tomorrow, Mavis pondered as she saw the detectives to her door. As they pulled away from the curb by Mavis's cottage, streetlights buzzed on against the darkening sky. Sweet old dear, but pretty confused, Casey remarked, settling into his seat. Did you catch her asking who we were even after we showed badges? Walker nodded slowly, tapping her pen against her notepad. Could be dementia. We'll need to verify anything she told us. She made a note in the margin before checking her watch, exhaling as she realized how much terrain they still had to cover. We missed the evening news. Safe bet the captain will want this case on TV by 11, Casey remarked. Walker nodded, stifling a yawn. We need to track this hairdresser down for sure, and this Rainy Days cafe. Maybe someone will remember our missing woman, Shae added as she drove. Casey hid his smile, already picturing the coffee aroma awaiting. Chapter 3. Digital Ghost. Hunching over her glowing monitor, Walker delved deeper down the social media rabbit hole seeking clues. Both Tobias and Mila had accounts bursting with couple selfies, yet something about hers felt uncanny. The flattering angles, radiant beauty filter-enhanced shots posing as if modeling, in stark contrast to his goofier grinning candids. Background checks also revealed a peculiar gap, where evidence of Mila Field's existing before meeting Tobias should be. No driver's license, leases, bank accounts that predated their romance kindled online. Casey shook off the mid-shift lull, joining Walker's creeping unease. In the glow of screens bearing this beautiful curated coupledom, the first teasing question surfaced whether something or someone central to the photos may indeed be artificially perfected. As dawn's rays cut through blinds, the ambitious young detective and worn mentor wordlessly traded cups of bitter station brew, steeling themselves to uncover whatever deception may slither beneath the charming digital mirage. The evening broadcast aired the urgent missing person details along with Mila's radiant photo, pleading for any leads the public could provide. As expected, calls trickled in through the night from well-meaning citizens and insomniacs with useless tidbits. Only one witness caught Casey's attention, a hairstylist recounting recurring bookings made under Mila's name that perpetually canceled. Strange, since she realized she had no solid memory ever meeting this woman despite heavy schedule openings reserved in her name regularly over the past 2 years, always paid for upfront by credit card, yet canceled routinely by a man claiming to be her husband just prior. Chapter 4. Cafe Encounter. The caffeine aroma embraced the bleary detectives as the bell jingled their entrance at Rainy Days Cafe. Behind the gleaming counter, a cheerful woman with a pixie haircut whistled while steaming elaborate floral portraits atop lattes. As Walker and Casey peered groggily around the empty cafe, a vibrant young woman began waving eagerly for them to have a seat at the bar. "I'm Ashby. You two look like you need our French roast defibrillator brewstat." The energetic young woman grinned, playfully proud of her clever signature drink inventions. After ordering Americanos, Walker discreetly slid Mila's photo across the counter. "Do you recognize this woman, Ashby?" Shae asked. "Of course I do. That's Mila, though." Ashby chewed her lip as she picked up the photo to get a better look. "Her hair looks different now, lighter, but Tobias shows me photos of them all the time when he comes to fetch her special order lattes." Trailing off, Ashby blinked back at the detectives in dawning surprise. He'd rave about what a glowing mom-to-be she was, show the latest ultrasound pictures. They are such a cute couple. He's always talking about her. "So, you've never actually met Mila Martin?" Casey asked through his strong coffee haze. "Well, no, but I know she loves Tobias very much. She is always doing special things for him. Just last week, Tobias was telling me how Mila bought tickets for them to go to Greece for an extended holiday." Ashby stated with pride at her inclusion into the couple's intimate details. The doorbell chimed as an immaculately groomed Tobias strode inside toward the counter as he did habitually each morning. But he froze in his tracks, seeing Casey and Walker seated with Ashby holding Mila's photo. The detectives made intense eye contact, taking in his tailored outfit and pressed collar. A jarring contrast to the disheveled wreck they'd left destitute the night prior. "Mr. Martin, what a coincidence. We were just discussing your frequent charming morning coffee pit stops," Walker lied. Exchanging a tense look with Ashby, Tobias smoothed his rigid posture and crossed slowly to their table. "Of course. Anything I can do? Any news on my wife?" His voice wavered slightly as the detective's eyes bored into him. "Well, nothing definitive as yet, but we would like to ask just a few more questions." "It would sure help a great deal," Casey said as he gestured for Tobias to take a seat. Ordering another coffee as a way to remove Ashby from the table, Casey took his time before speaking, hoping his delay might make this strange character feel more uncomfortable. "So Tobias, we couldn't help but notice in discussing darling Mila here with Ms. Lewis. She shares such glowing anecdotes about your doting daily coffee pit stops. Yet it seems Ms. Lewis has no tangible memories of meeting Mila in the flesh herself. He let the contradiction linger. Tobias's Adam's apple bobbed slightly as he maintained stiff, polite eye contact. Well, Mila often prefers I fetch her order to go. She has such busy days, what with her pregnancy and all. Tobias trailed off, smoothing his collar. Understandable, Walker interjected gently. Though also peculiar. Your neighborhood acquaintance, Mavis, vividly recalls Mila heading off to have her hair done. Her tone remained light, but scrutinizing. Tobias paled a shade at the increased specificity. Yes. I mentioned that Mila hadn't returned home from that appointment on Wednesday. That's why I called you to find her, he stammered. Yes, just confirming details is all. And also just wondering how you and Mila met. Was she from this area? Casey continued, like the great probing detective he had forgotten that he was. No, not from here. Mila was born in Greece, actually, Tobias answered tentatively, as if searching for facts that were eluding him somehow. Seeing beads of sweat on the tense Tobias's brow, Walker softened her tone with a kind smile meant to disarm. We know emotions and worries are running high for you, Mr. Martin. We are continuing our inquiries, of course, and any new leads can be crucial, which is why we need to keep an open dialogue with you. We're all on the same team here. Yes, we are. And we are here to help. So if you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask. Casey added with a smile as he and Walker stood to leave. Thank you both so much, Mr. Martin said emotionally as he extended his hand to Casey. Just then, Ashby reappeared at the counter, and as Tobias noticed her, his eyes pooled with tears. I really appreciate your efforts to find my beautiful Mila. Please, bring our family back together. He dipped his head sorrowfully as Ashby gazed on sympathetically. The detectives exchanged a subtle, knowing look as they turned to go, the bitter aroma of brewed deceit perfuming the air as the door chimed their exit. Chapter 5: Search. Peeling out from the cafe, Walker's fingers flew across her cell, dialing the airline company while Casey wheeled towards headquarters. Yes, hello. This is Detective Walker, badge 7561. I need information on any booked Greece trips under the name Tobias Martin, departing this month. Her eyes flashed to Casey as the agent confirmed a first-class flight under that name, departing alone in 5 days. No Mila Martin linked to the booking at all. Casey hit the sirens, urgency heightening to get that search approval before Tobias could get home to clean house and remove any evidence of his poor wife's murder. Within the hour, they were back on the tree-lined street flanked by patrol cars, warrant in hand. Casey gave Walker an approving nod before pounding firmly on Tobias's front door. Police, open up. Tobias had barely unlatched the chain before he was thrown backward by the urgent sweep-in. Cuffs clicked ruthlessly on his wrists before he could utter a word. Casey hauled their stammering suspect outside to wait in the locked backseat of the squad car for interrogation later. Meanwhile, Walker led officers in a thorough, room-to-room forensic sweep. Mila's belongings turned up neatly stored, yet devoid of any history predating the last 2 years. Almost props rather than artifacts used actively in daily life. A handbag contained nothing beyond an empty wallet, long unused makeup items, a blank diary, and a hairbrush. Most disturbingly, An unopened gift basket from Mavis addressed to Mila with the card, "Congratulations on your pregnancy," surfaced tucked away in the bedroom closet. No sign of a struggle was present, nor any signs of blood. Convinced a terrible crime waited shrouded beneath this glossy suburban veneer, they instead were met only with rooms eerily undisturbed by any struggle. As they escorted a speechless Tobias to the station, investigators continued searching. Mila's handbag, personal items, photos, and a laptop were all bagged to be sent to forensics for further testing. Chapter 6. Made for Me. Over 48 tense hours, Tobias waited in holding, initially distraught and insisting this was a mistake, before settling into restless, resigned silence. Meanwhile, lab techs systematically worked through the mountain of evidence collected from the house in an attempt to prove the ultimate criminal act that had been committed against poor Mila. As the final hours of their holding window neared, Shae kept the mirrored interrogation room chilled while she and Luke reviewed the typed reports. Once everything was fresh in their minds, they entered the room, sat at the desk opposite Tobias, placing their folders in front of them. Tobias sat watching them intently, waiting for his inevitable vindication of innocence. Shae opened the file folder, cool eyes locking with Tobias across the steel table. "Let's discuss your upcoming Greece trip." Tobias's confident expression wavered almost imperceptibly before doubling down. "A gift from my beautiful wife. She has always dreamed of returning to her birthplace once the baby is born," he blurted confidently. Shae silently slid the damning flight receipt forward, tapping a red nail expectantly, awaiting his next spin of a love so devoted. Yet, no tickets under Mrs. Martin seemed to exist. "In fact, you purchased a solo business class seat, Tobias, and for only 3 days from now. No time for mother and baby to even be released from the hospital." He sat silently, nervously playing with his wedding rings. Tobias shifted, a damning heat creeping up his collar as the detective exposed each loving claim as a shallow facade. When the first beads of sweat surfaced on his temples, Shae tilted her head. "Curious, isn't it? Your devotion always appears darling in stories, recapped after the fact, like those morning coffee pit stops. Tell me, were you perhaps calling on the cafe manager rather than your wife all this time?" Tobias sputtered in protest, but Walker cut him off. Where was all this public doting before tragedy struck? The hairstylist with standing appointments, yet never a chance to meet the infamous Mila in person. Tobias clenched his jaw, avoiding eye contact for the first time as the accusations circled tighter to his true colors. "Was Mila perhaps a captive in her own home?" Luke asked, the threat of misconduct charges now mixing into the air, beyond murder allegations waning. "Tell me, Mr. Martin, tell me about your wife's personal items," Shae pressed, homing in on the vacuum of evidence. Tobias locked eyes, confusion crinkling his brow. Her gaze remained locked and expectant, probing deeper into uncertain pupils. "Well, What do you mean precisely, detective?" he attempted weakly, grasping to buy time. Her diaries, empty. Her lipstick, unopened. Even her toothbrush and hairbrush, unused. Shae recounted the void where signs of life should be. She paused, allowing stark realization to flood Tobias's eyes as the fantasy crumbled. "What artifacts of authentic joy together do you actually possess?" Luke pressed. "Beyond images capturing her form frozen in time, where is evidence of Mila's spirited soul? Her dreams, desires, favorite things?" She's my wife. She has no dreams, no desires. She is for me. She only cares for me. Catching each other's gaze after Tobias's outburst, Shae and Casey knew their suspicions of elaborate deception had found their target. They had only to land on the right pressure points to extract the full truth at last. In the attic, we found a great number of receipts. Purchases like thrift store clothing items, handbags with someone else's initials, Walker fired with bullet aim. Care to explain acquiring so many props and commodities marked as pre-owned, Mr. Martin? Tobias grasped at strings of the fabricated tapestry, now disintegrating fast. I shop flea markets and antique shops often. He attempted weakly, a sheen of sweat visible as their merciless interrogation bore deeper. One finds treasures, others discard sometimes. One crafts full personal histories from them too, apparently, Casey accused. Tobias refused to yield, but as he stared defiantly at his foe, Shae began placing photographs of Mila on the table before him, one after another, after another. She continued to pile up the images of a woman that up until a few hours ago was the object of a frantic search. Tobias's gaze darted fleetingly over each frozen model shot and candid domestic setting, the only artifacts of Mila, ironically now towering most prominently between them all. His eyes began to glisten involuntarily at the enormity of loss now crashing fully down. The perfect mirage, captured visually while the woman herself slipped away, only as ephemeral daydream unable to survive unwavering questions asked. He began to raise shaking hands towards the stack, whether to caress her form fondly one last time, angrily topple the stack denying her dissolution, or reaching desperately for one remnant tether now snapped brutally back to abandoned reality. "We searched your computer, Mr. Martin," Shae added, twisting the knife of exposed secrecy further. "Quite a few AI image generations stored of this woman, my friend," Shae said quietly. Tobias clenched his fists briefly at the latest damning implication before Casey stepped back in. "It's time. Tell us of Mila now." She was a figure pieced together during lonely nights, to start, filling needs no one else could. Finally, Tobias met their eyes across the void. "I fabricated our shared stories, and her name itself over time." Walker leaned forward expectantly. "Her initials, though, I did encode purposefully. MFM, made for me. My perfect custom-created companion." His eyes dropped to her frozen image with a profound sadness. "I suppose Mila eventually felt all too vibrantly real in my mind, though not real enough to leave any tangible imprint for anyone else." The candid confession echoed through the stark room. Walker gently closed the file folder on his spell, now definitively broken. A case laid to rest by truth rather than evidence gathered in the end.